The rain hadn't stopped for 3 days in Harbor City, and the streets looked as tense as the people walking them. Officer Ethan Cole stood outside Precinct 17, tightening his jacket as flashing red and blue lights reflected off wet pavement. Beside him sat Rex, a Belgian Malinois with sharp amber eyes and ears that never missed a sound. Rex wasn't just a police dog, he was Ethan's partner, his shadow, and sometimes his only backup. Ethan knelt and adjusted Rex's tactical harness. "You ready, buddy?" he whispered. Rex responded with a low, confident bark, tail steady, body alert. He always knew when something big was coming. Inside the precinct, the air was thick with urgency. A classified briefing had just ended. A dangerous criminal cell calling themselves Black Harbor had taken control of an abandoned shipping terminal near the docks. Intelligence suggested illegal weapons, possible explosives, and at least one former military strategist leading them. Worse, there were rumors of a chemical device that could poison the nearby river. The police department couldn't risk a full-scale assault. Too many civilians lived nearby. That's where Rex came in. Captain Morales pointed to a digital map. "We need eyes and instincts where cameras fail," she said. "Rex will lead the entry unit through the lower corridors, quiet, precise." Ethan felt the familiar mix of pride and fear tighten in his chest. Rex had saved lives before, tracking missing kids, locating hidden suspects, but this mission was different. This wasn't a chase, this was a war zone. As night fell, the tactical unit moved in unmarked vehicles toward the docks. Fog rolled in from the ocean, swallowing streetlights whole. The terminal loomed ahead, rusted metal, broken windows, and silence that felt unnatural. Rex suddenly stopped. Ethan raised a fist. The team froze. Rex's ears tilted toward the east side of the building. He sniffed the air, then growled softly. Ethan trusted that sound more than any scanner. "Movement," Ethan whispered into his radio. "Multiple heat signatures. They're expecting something." The plan changed instantly. They entered through a side maintenance door. Inside, the terminal smelled of oil, salt, and something sharp, chemical. Rex moved ahead, paws silent, nose working fast. He signaled once, danger, then twice, armed presence. Suddenly, a faint metallic click echoed down the hallway. Rex lunged forward and slammed into Ethan, knocking him sideways just as a tripwire snapped tight where Ethan had been standing. A hidden explosive blinked red. Ethan's heart pounded as he realized one thing clearly. This mission was far more dangerous than they had been told, and Rex had just saved his life, again. But deeper inside the terminal, something worse was waiting, something Rex had never encountered before. The bomb squad disarmed the tripwire explosive in under 60 seconds, but for Ethan, time had stretched into something heavy and unreal. He ran a hand along Rex's neck, steadying both of them. "Good catch," he murmured. Rex didn't relax. His muscles stayed tight, eyes locked down the dark corridor ahead. The team split into 2 units. Ethan and Rex were assigned to lower level C, an underground maze of cargo tunnels once used for illegal smuggling decades ago. According to blueprints, the tunnels were unstable, narrow, and perfect for ambushes. As they descended, radio signals weakened. Static crackled in Ethan's earpiece. "Signal's degrading," a voice warned. "You've got 5 minutes before total blackout." 5 minutes, that's all. Rex moved ahead, pausing often, sniffing the ground and walls. Suddenly he froze. His nose hovered inches above the concrete floor. There was a scent, gun oil mixed with adrenaline. Someone had passed through recently. Ethan signaled the team to slow. They rounded a corner and found it, an improvised surveillance room. Monitors glowed softly, showing live feeds of the docks, city roads, and even police channels. Black Harbor wasn't just hiding, they were watching everything. Before Ethan could react, Rex growled sharply and charged. A man burst from behind stacked crates, raising his weapon, but Rex was faster. He leapt, knocking the gun aside as Ethan tackled the suspect to the ground. The man struggled, eyes wide with panic. "Too late," the suspect sneered. "You're already inside the trap." That's when the lights went out. Total darkness swallowed the tunnel. Gunfire echoed. The team scattered. Ethan felt Rex press close to his leg, guiding him by instinct alone. Somewhere ahead, footsteps ran fast, multiple sets. Then came the sound Rex feared most. A high-pitched mechanical hum. Rex's ears flattened. His breathing changed. Ethan realized the truth too late. They hadn't just built bombs, they had automated drone defenses, modified for close-quarters combat, experimental, unpredictable. A drone zipped past, firing rubber-coated rounds that slammed into the walls. One officer cried out over the radio before the signal died completely. Ethan crouched behind a pillar, heart racing. He whispered commands, relying on touch and trust. Rex moved silently forward, eyes adjusting faster than any human's. Suddenly, Rex stopped and whined. Ethan followed his gaze and felt his stomach drop. The tunnel floor ahead had collapsed, revealing a deep shaft flooded with dark water, and on the far side, just barely visible, sat a reinforced steel door marked with a faded warning symbol: Biohazard. Whatever Black Harbor was protecting, it was behind that door, and the only way to reach it was across a structure that looked ready to give way at any second. Behind them, the mechanical hum returned, closer now. Ethan tightened his grip on Rex's harness. They had one chance: either move forward into the unknown or be trapped in the dark with machines that never got tired. The structure ahead was barely holding together. Rusted beams, cracked concrete, and a narrow metal walkway suspended above black water that smelled of chemicals and decay. Every instinct in Ethan's body screamed not to cross it, but behind them, the drones were closing in. Ethan looked down at Rex. "Easy, boy, step by step." Rex didn't hesitate. He placed one paw onto the walkway, testing it, then another. The metal creaked, but held. Trusting Rex more than the structure, Ethan followed. Halfway across, the lights flickered on. The drones had activated emergency power. A red beam scanned the tunnel, locking onto heat signatures. One drone fired. A round struck the railing, snapping it clean off. The walkway swayed violently. Rex slipped. Ethan dropped to his knees, grabbing Rex's harness just in time. His shoulder slammed against the beam, pain exploding through his arm. For a terrifying second, Rex dangled above the water below, legs kicking. "Hold on!" Ethan shouted, pulling with everything he had. Rex growled, not in fear, but determination. Using his back legs, he kicked against the beam and twisted his body, giving Ethan just enough leverage to pull him back onto the walkway. They didn't stop. They ran. The steel door loomed closer as bullets sparked off metal behind them. Rex leapt first, sliding across the concrete. Ethan followed, slamming his shoulder into the control panel. The door sealed shut just as a drone crashed into it, exploding in a shower of sparks. Silence. For a moment, Ethan couldn't breathe. He rested his forehead against Rex's, hands shaking. "You saved me," he whispered. Inside the room, rows of metal containers lined the walls. Warning labels, chemical markings. This wasn't just a threat, it was a catastrophe waiting to happen. Rex suddenly stiffened. A man stepped out from behind the containers. Tall, calm, wearing tactical gear with no insignia. His eyes showed no panic, only calculation. "You must be the dog," he said, voice steady. "I heard about you." Ethan raised his weapon. "Drop it, now." The man smiled slightly. "You already lost." He pressed a button on a remote device. A countdown timer appeared on a screen above them. 04:19. Automatic ventilation systems began to seal. Red lights flashed. The air grew thick. This facility floods in 5 minutes, chemical release included. No one leaves. Rex snarled, stepping forward. The man's gaze locked onto Rex, not with fear, but curiosity. Let's see what loyalty really looks like. He threw a flash device and ran toward a secondary exit. Rex bolted after him without waiting for a command. Ethan's instincts screamed at him to follow Rex, but the timer above the door burned red in his vision. 4:21. If the chemical containers breached, the entire dockside district would be poisoned within hours. He forced himself to move. "Command, do you copy?" Ethan shouted into his radio. Only static answered. He scanned the room quickly. The containers were wired into a crude but effective dispersal system. Black Harbor hadn't planned to escape, they planned to erase evidence. Ethan yanked open a control panel and began pulling wires, hoping muscle memory and training would beat the clock. Meanwhile, Rex tore through the corridors like a guided missile. The suspect's scent was strong: sweat, metal, and something cold-blooded. The man fired blindly behind him, rounds ricocheting off walls. Rex zigzagged, low and fast, closing the distance. The suspect burst into a loading bay and slammed a door control. The heavy door began to descend. Rex lunged, sliding under just before it hit the floor. The man turned, surprised for the first time. "Smart dog," he muttered, raising a shock baton. Rex didn't attack immediately. He circled, eyes locked, reading every movement. When the baton swung, Rex dodged and leaped, clamping down on the man's forearm. The baton clattered away. The man screamed, slamming Rex into a crate. Rex released, staggered, and then stood again. Back in the control room, Ethan finally stopped the dispersal sequence, but a new warning flashed. Manual override required at Floodgate B. Floodgate B. Ethan's blood ran cold. That was where Rex had gone. He ran. Water alarms began to wail as Ethan sprinted through the tunnels. The floor grew slick. Somewhere ahead, he heard Rex bark, sharp, defiant, followed by a gunshot. "Rex!" Ethan shouted. He burst into the loading bay just in time to see the suspect fall backward, Rex still locked onto his arm. The man fired again, but the shot went wide as Ethan tackled him to the ground. It was over. Ethan cuffed the suspect and rushed to Rex's side. A shallow wound grazed Rex's shoulder, bleeding but not critical. Rex leaned into Ethan, breathing hard but standing strong. "You did it," Ethan said, voice breaking. "You really did it." The floodgate control was inches away. Ethan slammed the override switch. 0012, 0011. The alarm stopped. Silence returned, only broken by distant sirens as backup finally arrived. Rex sat beside Ethan, tail thumping weakly. Outside, dawn began to rise over Harbor City. The mission was a success. But as medics approached, Rex suddenly stiffened again, staring toward the far end of the bay, where a small light blinked to life on an abandoned console. Ethan followed Rex's gaze. Another countdown had started. The blinking light pulsed steadily, slow, deliberate, unforgiving. 0200. Ethan's breath caught. Backup officers froze, weapons raised, scanning for threats that weren't there. The captured suspect laughed weakly from the ground. "You think it ends with me?" he said. "This place was designed to finish the job." Ethan ignored him. He trusted Rex more than the man's words. Rex moved forward despite his injury, nose close to the floor, tracking something old, dust, metal, and a faint electrical burn. He stopped at an abandoned console, half buried under debris. A secondary device, smaller, smarter. This wasn't about mass destruction anymore. It was about taking out the people still inside. Ethan knelt beside Rex, following his gaze. The wiring was different, newer, cleaner. a failsafe designed to detonate if the main system was shut down. "Of course," Ethan muttered. "One last trick." 01:15. The bomb squad was still minutes away. Rex looked up at Ethan, eyes steady, trusting. He nudged the console with his nose, then scratched once, sharp and intentional. He had located the source. Ethan swallowed. "Are you sure?" he asked softly. Rex barked once. Ethan pulled open the panel. Inside was a pressure-based trigger. Any sudden movement would set it off. His hands shook, sweat dripping from his chin. He worked slowly, carefully, breathing in sync with Rex's calm presence. 00:30. Suddenly, Rex shifted. Ethan froze. Rex had detected something else, a vibration, water pressure building behind a sealed wall. If it burst, it would crush them both. There was no time to disarm and escape. Ethan made a decision no officer ever wants to make. He unhooked Rex's harness. "Go," he whispered, voice breaking. "That's an order." Rex didn't move. 00:10. Ethan pushed him gently toward the exit. Rex growled low, not in anger, but refusal. Then Rex did something Ethan would never forget. He stepped back to the console and placed his paw gently on the pressure plate, stabilizing it. Ethan understood instantly. Rex was buying time. "No, Rex!" Ethan shouted. With tears blurring his vision, Ethan yanked out the final wire. The countdown stopped. The wall burst, but the pressure plate held long enough. Rex stumbled as water flooded the bay, but Ethan grabbed him, pulling them both clear as officers rushed in. Minutes later, sunlight streamed through broken windows. Rex lay on a stretcher, bandaged, tired, but alive. His tail wagged when Ethan appeared. Weeks later, Harbor City held a ceremony. Cameras flashed, medals were pinned. Rex didn't understand applause. He only understood one thing. He had protected his partner. And sometimes, the bravest heroes walk on four legs.